Welcome to Everything, where we dive deep into intriguing mysteries and untold stories. Today, we embark on a journey to explore the hidden identity of one of history's most famous ships, the Titanic. Join us as we delve into the controversial conspiracy theory that suggests the Titanic was, in fact, the Olympic. Get ready for a mind-bending exploration as we unveil the secrets behind this intriguing theory. Today we're going to take a closer look at the captivating conspiracy theory that proposes the Titanic and the Olympic might have switched identities. Could it be possible that the grand and sinkable ship we all know was not the Titanic after all? Let's dive into the evidence and theories surrounding this fascinating topic. To understand the Titanic Olympic theory, we need to delve into the historical background of these two iconic ships. We'll explore their construction, ownership, and striking similarities that have sparked the conspiracy. Both the Titanic and the Olympic were constructed during the early 20th century, a time of intense competition among shipbuilders. The Titanic, famously built by the Holland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Northern Ireland, was heralded as an engineering marvel. Its construction began in 1909 and involved the expertise of thousands of skilled workers. The ship boasted luxurious amenities, advanced technological features, and size that surpassed any other vessel of its time. Similarly, the Olympic, constructed around the same period, was a majestic vessel. Its construction took place at the Belfast shipyard of the same Holland and Wolff. Although less widely known than the Titanic, the Olympic shared many characteristics with its counterpart, including advanced engineering and opulent interiors. Understanding the ownership of these ships is crucial to understanding the conspiracy. But before we do that, let's give some fuel to the possible plot. A book written in 1898 may have predicted the tragic events that unfolded 14 years later. Could it be mere coincidence, or was there a more sinister thing at play? The famous book I am referring to is Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan by Morgan Robertson. Published in 1898, Futility is a fictional novel that remarkably bears similarities to the Titanic disaster. In Futility, the eponymous ship, the Titan, is described as an unsinkable luxury liner, the largest vessel of its time, and considered unsinkable due to its advanced safety features. The novel tells the story of the Titan's ill-fated voyage in April, during which it strikes an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sinks, resulting in a high number of casualties due to a lack of lifeboats. Although Futility was written well before the Titanic's sinking, the book's eerie foreshadowing of the actual event has led to its continued fascination among readers and scholars interested in maritime history. So who owned the Titanic and why would anyone want it to sink? The Titanic was owned by the White Star Line, a prominent British shipping company, while the Olympic was owned by the International Mercantile Marine Co., a conglomerate led by American financier J.P. Morgan. The ownership connection becomes significant in light of the conspiracy theory. Proponents suggest that powerful interests within the IMM, possibly including J.P. Morgan himself, orchestrated the switch between the two ships for undisclosed reasons. This theory raises questions about potential financial motives and political maneuvering surrounding the Titanic's tragic end. Now, a famous case of a person who cancelled their plans to board the Titanic was in fact the very same J.P. Morgan, an influential American financier and one of the key figures associated with the ship's construction and ownership. Although Morgan had originally intended to travel on the Titanic's maiden voyage, he decided to remain in Europe and instead return to the United States aboard a different ship, the RMS Mauretania. There are different accounts and theories about why Morgan chose not to board the Titanic. Some suggest that his decision was due to business matters, while others propose that health issues or discomfort with the ship's design may have played a role. Regardless of the exact reasons, Morgan's absence from the Titanic has remained a well-known anecdote connected to the historic tragedy. Striking similarities. One of the key aspects fueling the Titanic Olympic conspiracy is the remarkable similarities between the two vessels. These parallels have led theorists to speculate that the two ships were, in fact, interchangeable. Firstly, the Titanic and the Olympic shared nearly identical exterior designs. These vessels bear striking resemblance from the arrangement of portholes to the majestic four-funnel layout. Critics argue that such similarities were common among ships of the era, but proponents of the conspiracy theory believe they go beyond mere coincidence. Secondly, both ships boasted luxurious interiors and were known for their opulence. The sumptuousness of their first-class accommodations, grand staircases, and lavish public areas rivaled each other. The theory suggests that the interior decorations and furnishings were swapped during the alleged switch, further obscuring their true identities. Finally, the ships shared similar dimensions, making them nearly indistinguishable at first glance. Both vessels measured approximately 802 feet in length and had similar tonnage. These physical similarities bolster the argument that a clandestine switch may have taken place. The historical background between the Titanic and the Olympic provides a compelling backdrop to the conspiracy theory that suggests a switch between these iconic ships. The construction prowess of the Belfast shipyard, the contrasting ownership of the White Star Line and the IM, and the striking similarities shared by the vessels have fueled speculation and intrigue. But what may be the reasons behind a switched identity? Financial interests and insurance. One of the primary motivations proposed for the alleged ship switch revolves around financial interests. It is theorized that individuals with significant financial stakes in the ship sought to exploit insurance policies by intentionally sinking the Olympic, which had a lower value, while presenting it as the Titanic. This way, they could maximize insurance claims and recoup substantial financial losses. Luxury ship rivalry. During the era in which the Titanic and the Olympic were built, intense competition existed among shipbuilders to construct the most luxurious vessels. The conspiracy theory suggests that the switch occurred to maintain the reputation of the White Star Line, the owner of the Titanic, as having the grandest and most opulent ship. By switching the ships, the White Star Line could claim ownership of the grandeur associated with the Olympic, surpassing their competitors and enhancing their prestige. Political considerations. Political factors also come into play in the Titanic Olympic conspiracy theory. It is believed that influential figures within the International Mercantile Marine Co., IM, which own the Olympic, may have orchestrated the switch to further their own political interests. By aligning the American-owned Olympic with the British-owned Titanic, they sought to solidify international alliances, leverage political influence, and strengthen their position in the shipping industry. Reputation and public image. The Titanic was widely hailed as an unsinkable marvel, and its maiden voyage was heavily publicized. However, the theory proposes that unforeseen circumstances, such as mechanical or structural issues, cast doubt on the Titanic's true seaworthiness. To protect the reputation of the White Star Line and prevent public embarrassment, a clandestine ship switch may have been executed, with the more reliable Olympic taking on the identity of the Titanic. Preservation of investments. The switching of the ships may have been driven by a desire to protect substantial investments made in the construction and marketing of the Titanic. If unforeseen complications arose during the construction or testing phase, swapping the ships could have been seen as a strategic move to salvage investments and avoid costly delays, ensuring that the Titanic's anticipated grandeur was not compromised. One of the cornerstones of the Titanic Olympic theory lies in the discrepancies and anomalies found within historical records and survivor testimonies. We'll explore the puzzling inconsistencies that have raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about a hidden switch. Several discrepancies and anomalies have been identified within historical records and survivor testimonies regarding the Titanic. Here are a few examples. Passenger lists and numbers. One notable discrepancy revolves around the passenger lists and the total number of individuals aboard the Titanic. Some records indicate that there were more passengers than officially reported, suggesting that there may have been additional individuals on board whose presence was not fully accounted for. Witness testimonies. Survivor testimonies differ in their recollections of specific details, such as the location of certain individuals, the behavior of crew members, and the order of evacuation. These discrepancies may be attributed to factors such as the passage of time, trauma, and individual perspectives. Communications and distress signals. Discrepancies exist regarding the extent of the distress signals sent by the Titanic and the responses received. Some testimonies suggest that nearby ships ignored or misunderstood the distress signals, while others claim that there were additional ships in close proximity that did not render immediate assistance. Final moments and sinking angle. Survivor accounts and expert opinions vary on the exact manner in which the Titanic sank and the angle at which it plunged beneath the ocean's surface. Different testimonies describe a range of scenarios, including the breakup of the ship and the final position of the wreckage. It is important to note that these discrepancies and anomalies do not necessarily imply a deliberate cover-up or a switch in identities between the Titanic and another ship. They reflect the challenges of reconstructing the events of a major historical disaster, the impact of trauma on witnesses, and the limitations of recording and recalling details accurately in such chaotic and tragic circumstances. No conspiracy theory is complete without addressing the skeptics and counter-arguments. We'll present alternative viewpoints and opposing theories, allowing for a comprehensive examination of the evidence from all angles. When considering the theory that the Titanic and the Olympic were switched, there are counter-arguments and skepticism that challenge the validity of this claim. Here are some counter-arguments and skeptical viewpoints. Lack of motive. Skeptics question the motive behind such a switch. The Titanic was a new and highly anticipated ship, while the Olympic had already been in service for a year. Switching the ships would not have provided any significant advantage or financial gain for the involved parties. Critics argue that without a clear motive, the theory lacks a strong foundation. Shipyard records. Counter-arguments highlight the extensive documentation and shipyard records surrounding the construction and launch of the Titanic and the Olympic. These records include blueprints, photographs, construction dates, and launch ceremonies. Skeptics contend that it would have been highly challenging to switch the identities of two ships during the construction process without raising suspicions. Physical differences and modifications. The Titanic and the Olympic had notable physical differences and modifications. These included variations in the placement of portholes, differences in the design of the promenade deck, and variations in the number of windows in certain areas of the ships. Counter-arguments assert that these physical discrepancies would have been difficult to hide if a switch had taken place. Unaffected shipyard employees. The shipyard employees who worked on the construction and outfitting of the Titanic and the Olympic would have been aware of any switch between the two vessels. Critics question why no significant whistleblowing or internal reports emerged from these employees if a switch had indeed occurred. As we reach the conclusion of our investigation, we'll discuss the lingering unanswered questions surrounding the Titanic Olympic conspiracy. We'll weigh the evidence and theories presented and share our closing thoughts on the plausibility of this captivating hypothesis. First and foremost, we have to consider the historical documentation available. Extensive records, including blueprints, photographs, and construction logs, clearly distinguish the Titanic from the Olympic. These documents provide irrefutable evidence of their separate construction, launch dates, and unique design features. The wealth of historical documentation makes it highly implausible that such a switch could have occurred unnoticed or without leaving behind a trail of evidence. Another significant point to consider is the knowledge of the shipyard employees who worked on both the Titanic and the Olympic. It is highly unlikely that a switch of this magnitude could have taken place without detection by the people involved in the construction and outfitting of these vessels. Their familiarity with the ship's distinct characteristics and their potential to expose any foul play make it challenging to accept the theory of a secret switch. Lastly, we need to address the lack of a clear motive behind the alleged switch. The Titanic was a highly anticipated and prestigious vessel, while the Olympic had already been in service for a year. Without a compelling reason for anyone involved in the operation or ownership of the ships to carry out such a switch, the theory lacks a solid foundation. Motive plays a crucial role in determining the plausibility of any conspiracy, and the absence of a motive casts doubt on this theory. As we wrap up our examination of the theory proposing that the Titanic was actually the Olympic, it's important to remember that plausibility is key in assessing historical claims. While alternative theories can be intriguing, the overwhelming consensus among experts and historians is that the Titanic sank as a result of the iceberg collision. The lack of substantial evidence, the extensive historical documentation, and the absence of a clear motive makes it difficult to support the theory of a secret switch, but we may never know the truth. Thank you for joining us on this eye-opening exploration into the hidden identity of the Titanic. The theory that the Titanic and the Olympic were switched continues to spark debates and intrigue to this day. We encourage you to delve deeper into this topic, form your own opinions, and continue the conversation in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more captivating content. And as always, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep uncovering the truth. Until next time, safe travels.